All right, it is now 20 minutes to 7 o'clock right here on Morning Express. It's time for the Dawn Debate. And joining me to have that Dawn Debate, to my immediate left, I have Edwin Sifuna, who is the ODM nominee for Nairobi senatorial position. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a while since we had you around.
Absolutely. It's,
okay.
Nice
I think you've been busy campaigning in many areas, but we'll come to that. We also have Dennis Ndumbi from Agano Party.
Yes.
Good to have you. And you're also seeking to be senator for Nairobi County.
Correct.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's start with just the basics. And let me start with you, Edin. Why you for senator?
Well, Mike, it has become quite apparent that the representation that this county has had on the Senate has been quite wanting. Nairobi is quite a unique county. It is the city, capital city, and the seat of government in this country. We host the diplomatic missions in this country, and there are problems or challenges that are unique to being a capital city. And I believe that we need proper representation on the floor of the Senate that will be able to articulate the uniqueness of Nairobi, so that even in the allocation of revenue and the responsibility that falls on the central government and our laws are also brought out clearly, so that we are able to get what is required to address Nairobi's unique needs. So I believe I have what it takes to be able to be the representation of the people on the floor of the Senate in Nairobi. And also, we have had very serious problems in terms of oversight of the resources that are, allocated to Nairobi County, so that many of the problems that we face, whether it be our failing healthcare facilities, our schools, whether it is the traffic, whether it is waste disposal, we have seen a lot of complaints even today that the people have not felt the county government of Nairobi delivering on those particular challenges in this city.
All right. Now, you did try to vie for Kandai, Member of Parliament, but you were unsuccessful.
Yes.
Wouldn't you feel then that was enough? The people had said that, well, maybe it's not a time for you to become a leader for a certain region.
Well, first of all, you must understand that I ran for Kandui because I always believe that it is in those rural areas back home where the best of talent is required or is needed in terms of representation of the people. It is that belief that sent me down there. But we all know what happened during the nominations. And after that particular process, there was a process of appeal that we lodged with the party. And during that particular process, it was an acceptance by the party that many things went wrong in Kandui constituency. And at that particular point in time, an idea was floated that we could fight until the cows come home on the issue of Kandui, or the party had presented this option that they did not feel that the candidate that they had at the moment in Nairobi was strong enough to represent the interests of a party in the capital city. And the position was offered to me, and I took it. And I believe that, what doesn't kill you, they say, makes you stronger. And I think everybody acknowledges the challenges that were in the nomination processes for both parties in both coalitions in this country. Yes.
All right, let me come to you, Dennis. And you're also vying for Nairobi senatorial seat. Why Dennis? What does Dennis have to bring on the table that possibly we don't have?
Well, first of all, I thank God for giving me the opportunity to be here and the opportunity to represent himself and his people. The greatest problem that we have in Nairobi and the nation at large is a security problem. And I'm a security professional. Thankfully, one of the best in the country. The issue with Nairobi is that Nairobi is infested with thieves who are plundering our resources. And what the Nairobian has done, which is what I'm sensitizing them on, is that they've left the door open for the resources to be plundered. Billions later, we can't see any development, whether in terms of human or any kind of, infrastructure or thereabout. Nairobi is filthier than it was many, many years ago when I was a young man, when I visited Nairobi the first time. So as a security professional, what I'm coming to do is stop the theft. The greatest gain in corruption is not even high-profile arrests. It is in stopping the bleed, and that's what I'm coming to do. Nairobi has actually been shared in two halves by the opposition and the government, where my colleague here represents, ODM. And so if you look at the plunder right from the ward level, because Nairobi has 5 wards, right from the ward level, we can't account for projects, for money, for anything whatsoever. The Nairobian is plagued with problems more than before. And this is the first time in the constitution where MCAs who are formerly called councillors have been given millions of money, to help the Mwananchi with the money that the Mwananchi has entrusted into these guys. And what they've done is plunders without any regard to humanity. So what I'm coming to do is actually to stop that plunder henceforth. Because looking at it technically, I doubt if we're going to elect good people in power. So what you need is a senator who has a skill, who has a will, and who has a value system that can stop this plunder. And thereabouts, because money is available. So when money is available, I have 9 key areas which I'll mention that I would like to sensitize the county government to invest.
I'll come back to you on that, and maybe coming to you, Edwin. Do you agree that the biggest problem we have right now is one of theft in Nairobi, or do we have other issues? And as you answer that, of course, we do know that Kidero is going to be presenting his papers. Is it today or tomorrow? Today. And he's one of those who appeared in the list of 20 of governors who certain civil society said should not be cleared by IEBC. First of all, your thoughts on that?
Well, corruption, first of all, is a national plague, and that is something that is admitted by everyone. And as I told you when we started, is that there is a certain uniqueness to Nairobi that people must appreciate. Number one, if you look at the expenditure that this city actually, incurs in terms of their own wage bill, in terms of other things that are unique to Nairobi. For instance, if you compare the amount of money, we look at the figures and they tell us that about 80% of the allocation that comes to Nairobi goes to payment of salaries alone. Number two, if for instance you compare a county like Mandera and Nairobi, and you look at the kind of expenditure that goes, say, to street lighting alone in Nairobi, this is a cost that is unique to this particular city. So, first of all, as a senator, your job is to secure the interests of this city. Explain to the country why it is necessary for the central government to do more to relieve some of the financial burdens of the county city of Nairobi. So, it is true that there is a lot of problems in terms of resource utilization and even issues of corruption. But we also have to appreciate the uniqueness of this city, that even after the passing of the Constitution in 2010, Parliament felt the need to bring into force a law called the Urban Areas and Cities Act that actually puts a responsibility on the central government, independent of the allocations that come to the county by virtue of devolution, that the central government has to do more in terms of financing the activities and the programs of the city because of the unique status of Nairobi. So you as a senator, your first responsibility is to make sure that, and this is something that I have promised, that the central government has to come through on its responsibilities under the Urban Areas and Cities Act, so that we are able to see, for instance, if they were to do their fair share in development of infrastructure. Let me give you an example, Mike. You cannot argue against, the relief that the Southern Bypass, the Eastern Bypass, all the other bypasses have had on traffic in Nairobi. Right. So the central government, if it were to do more in terms of road expansion in this city, we probably would see further relief, as we have seen with the construction of the bypasses. We need to do more. The central government needs to do more on the issue of security. My brother here has talked about the issue of insecurity in Nairobi, and you must understand that the security is not a devolved function. Security still remains the responsibility of the national government. We need the national government to understand that because of the uniqueness of Nairobi, we need allocation of more resources in terms of personnel. We talk about the number of policemen, talk about the number of teachers who remain, central government employees. Talk about the number of doctors in our health facilities. Those people still remain largely. In fact, they are paid by the central government even as we speak today. So my job, first of all, is to eliminate all these excuses that we have that, limit or, the governor or the county government might give Nairobians as to why certain service is not being delivered. Then after that, your second role as a senator is now to oversight and to make sure that once I get you the money as a governor, it doesn't matter who you are. Once we've gotten you the money, we need to see, expansion of our health facilities. We need to see, a solution in garbage or solid waste management. We need to see a solution in all of the other things that plague this city because we have eliminated all the excuses.
Okay, now, under your role of oversight, your thoughts on now somebody like Governor Kidero, who was there before and has been cited by civil society for reasons that they have given, and I'm sure you know some of them, and it's mismanagement of funds. Your thoughts on somebody like Kidero now going for governor for a second term? Well,
at the end of the day, the Nairobians themselves will have a decision to make on who would be best placed to manage the city, given Kidero's record and everything is in the public domain. But one of the issues that we have with that particular report is that even as we, list people and say so-and-so has problems, so-and-so has problems, some of those people are not even, before a court of law in terms of being charged with anything that is related to what the report alleges. So, at the end of the day, we are still a country that is governed by the rule of law, and that before you make judgment on somebody, at least give them the advantage of the law so that they also get an opportunity to be, to tell the side of the story. So as far as I know, I do not think there is any corruption case that Governor Kidero is facing.
Okay, and of course you speak from the premise of being a lawyer. You're a lawyer, so you look at it from that perspective. Dennis, let me come back to you. You've mentioned some of the things that you would want to offer Nairobi in terms of leadership when you're a senator, if you do make it to become senator.
Yes.
How to? Because we have all these, wonderful plans that we hear about, and politicians are good at, painting out pictures, but the how-to is what lacks. How are you going to do this?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not talking about security from an aspect of national government. I'm talking about security from the fact that from the governor all the way to the MCA level, they've been stealing public funds. It's in the public domain. Nobody even needs to rethink about that. Nobody even needs to be creative about that. And it's not accurate to say that number one, that a lot of the money that has been apportioned to the county government has been going to pay the wage bill. No, Nairobi in its last budget, by the way, it was allocated 15 billion. That's financial year 2016-2017. But if you roll it back to all the way the money they've received from 2013, it's astronomical figures. If you look at 2016-2017 alone, the allocation and budgeting for development money per year was 11 billion, I think 11.6 billion. Now, if you go down to the ward level, down to the MCA, and the MCAs are split between ODM and Jubilee, those are the guys who are plundering this county. It is accurate to say that they have stolen public funds and disregarded the humanity of the Nairobi residents. So my first approach will be to create accountability at the ward level. The 85 Nairobi is to create accountability at the ward level. And by the way, it is shocking to know that almost 90% of Nairobi residents don't know their MCA, don't know the projects intended within their wards, don't know how much money was stolen. A lot of the MCAs, by the way, have moved to upmarket areas. Karen bought land of about 80 million and thereabout in other market areas. With what? With money that was destined to uplift the living standards of the ward residents.
But Dennis, allow me to pose you and ask the question, because you've mentioned and claimed that money has been stolen.
Correct.
And according to what Edwin is saying, there is a law that governs. There is a way of telling if it is in the public domain that they have stolen, then the legal process should take charge and, they'll be charged in a court of law.
Correct.
So what proof do you have that money has been stolen? I'm not saying it has or it has not.
The proof is very simple, by the way. Nobody needs to explain projects. You don't need to do any PR based on projects. You live in this city, you can see the actual state of the city. You can. Mike, you're here. So you live in the city, you can see the actual state of the city. Exactly what has improved in Nairobi for the last 4 years that the ODM and the Jubilee government has been in power in Nairobi. And I can tell you for real, nothing. Because I visit this city. I use matatus to move around. I go to downtown. I go to the slum areas. We live like pigs in this city, and there hasn't been absence of funds. There's been incredible resources in the new constitution that authenticates, devolution. For the first time, money was trickled down to the ward level. And for the first time, nothing has ever been done to increase the livelihood of the Nairobi resident. So my first approach is to create accountability, sensitization at the ward level. You understand? By the way, nobody needs to come from Kibera to Kitengela to look for work. Because 50 million shillings later at the ward level can employ everybody within that area. It can increase your living standards. It can give you everything that there is to live a respectable life as per the Constitution. Okay. So, and primarily that's what I want to do. And there are nine focus areas that I'd want to focus on, and a demographic that I'd want to be lifted up. You know, even it's actually shameful to note that the county government so far hasn't allocated any money to uplift the living standards of the youth, of the woman, of traders, persons living with a disability. There's no accuracy to how much funds were given and how they were utilized. The Nairobi resident has basically been morphed and blinded by this tribal conversation, by this party loyalty, which doesn't pay. And it indignifies them every day. You understand? So as a security expert, I know when I see a thief, how to net them, and basically how to bring up the accountability within the Mwananchi at the ward level, and, you know, to collaborate with government institutions. I have signed a pact with EACC. And one of the things that politicians have made sure that EACC is not functional. It has one of the least budgets ever, least employees, least everything. They can't even function. They have 600 cases that come to them almost daily. You understand? Right. Okay. Yeah. So basically, for me, it's primarily that. When I talk about security, I'm not talking... Look, you know, the Nyumba Kumi thing is that security has been reverted back to the Mwananchi. The Mwananchi has not... And both governments, by the way, have made sure that the Kenyan is not schooled on matters of civic education. When you say both governments, what do you mean? Or you mean the government? The county government and the national government. Okay. They've both made sure that you have a citizenry that is ignorant of their rights and what they're supposed to get by the end of the day. Then what you do is that you eat them. You know the way rats feed. They bite you as they blow your... Yeah, as they blow. So you don't even feel pain.
All right, let me come to you, Sifuna. And from what he is describing, do you agree security, first of all, is the biggest problem that we have? And I'm not even sure when you say security, whether you're really talking about security or you're talking about theft.
Theft is a matter of security. Okay. If somebody robs you money, you understand, that's a security issue.
All right, let me hear from Edwin. I'll come back to you on the 9 points you've talked about. Edwin.
I have tried to follow his concept of security, and probably, you know, we need him in a different office, probably to go and help. Probably to go and help Wabukala, because we all agree that if there is a way in which the thieves that he is describing, and he says if he meets them on the road, he knows this is a thief, he will apprehend them. I mean, that is wonderful. That is what we need. We need you to, you know, help Wabukala and get rid of these people who
that is the work of a senator, by the way. That's the work of a senator. That's the work of a senator.
Okay. I'll come back to you because the roles are very clear.
Correct. The roles of a senator are spelled out under the Constitution. Yes. And it is interesting that we have different interpretations of what it is that a senator needs to do, but in my own perspective, my brother, I have told you that your first duty actually is to look out for the interests of your county. Be able to, on the floor of the House, convince the other counties that there is a special or unique need in Nairobi that would justify a greater or a better allocation of resources here. It is difficult also to make that argument in light of other counties that have lagged behind. But it is in that challenge of you being able to articulate the challenges and also eliminating the excuses that any governor would have. For instance, one of the things that we have come to know is that even as we talk about the 15 billion shilling allocation of the county government of Nairobi in this financial year, we know that we have had so many challenges between the National Assembly and the Senate in terms of passage of the Division of Revenue Bill. Even as we speak today, there is still a stalemate in the Senate, between the Senate and the National Assembly. And at the end of the day, we must point fingers where the blame squarely lies. What are some of the causes of those inefficiencies in the county governments? Late disbursal of funds. We have seen the fights that I'm talking about between the National Assembly, because the National Assembly has always sought to undermine the work of the Senate. And in fact, their position has been that we should scrap the Senate anyway. And this is an institution that was put in place purely to look after the interests of the devolved units. So your work as a senator is cut out for you. In fact, the Constitution does not go past more than 3 roles for you as a senator. And that is why I was saying that we should be able to push the interests of the county first. Nairobi, for instance, is owed over 70 billion shillings by the central government. And it is interesting that even some of our competitors are people who sit in the National Assembly, who, if they had the interest of the county of Nairobi, would probably have gotten this money paid to the county first of all. 70 billion shillings is equivalent to more than 5 years of allocations to the county of Nairobi.
All right.
So that once you get that money, then your job is to make sure that it goes into the programs that we're looking, that are meant to be implemented. If it is roads, if it is the county roads, there will be no excuse for you as a governor. Then we should be able to follow you and say, this is what we allocated you, this is what we expect you to do.
Okay, because of time, I want us to kind of begin to wind up. But one of the roles that the Senate has is to determine allocation of national...
of resources amongst counties.
Yes, amongst counties. If you became Senator of Nairobi, what's the #1 priority that you would make sure funds go towards that, so that now the lives of people of Nairobi can say have been improved in one way or the other?
Absolutely. There is quite a number of problems, my brother. There is a problem of housing. There is a problem of water. There is a problem of, our failing health facilities. I do not think that you can put any of these challenges on top of the other. There is a problem of youth unemployment, the informal settlements.
But there has got to be some form of priority. There's got to be something that is a priority over the other.
That's what I'm saying. All these problems affect Nairobians directly and in a very major way. For instance, if you look at the problem of our health facilities, that we have health facilities here that are not properly staffed, that are not properly equipped, they do not have medicine. What would you put on top of that, for instance? That's why I'm saying there's quite a myriad of challenges, and our responsibility is to make sure that all these problems are addressed. If you look at, for instance, when we talk about the problem of water, we have a master plan for development of new sources of water for Nairobi that was passed way back in 2011, 2012. It includes even development of groundwater, and this phase 2 of that particular plan was the extraction of water from Muranga through the Northern Collector Tunnel. We have not developed the groundwater in Nairobi in phase 1 in accordance with that particular plan. Even where I stay right now, here in South B, we have not had water for a very long time. So there is all those problems, Mike, that face this city, and we should be able to address them holistically.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Dennis, a priority list. What would be a priority for you?
First of all, as I said, the issue with Nairobi is not the lack of resources. The issue of Nairobi is a moral and a security problem, I'll say that. It's just to make sure that the money that the county government has been given, all the way from gubernatorial to MCA level, that the promises have been delivered to the people, that we've lifted and delivered the services that basically secure the dignity of the Nairobi residents. And one of the things that I would want allocated, it would be a fund that basically goes to lift the living standards of persons living with disability, the youth, the women, and traders in Nairobi, basically, to make sure that they earn a living. But my priority is to make sure that I stop the financial bleed that we have in Nairobi.
Okay.
That, for me, is the one thing that when I get to the office, the first 3 months, and basically, by the way, one of the fastest things that we have in security is what we call awareness. When you're aware that you have made yourself vulnerable to a certain position, you understand, then you become much more articulate. And so for me, my job is this basically, because the work of a senator is clear. in the Constitution. It's representation, oversight, and legislation. I am very clear about that. But the issue of Nairobi is not lack of resources. Many billions later, nothing has been done to improve the living standards of the residents of Nairobi. And the governor that my friend Sifuna is supporting has overseen the plunder of the Nairobi residents. So I don't know how you can oversee a governor that you're basically helping get to office. But for me, my work is to ensure that, Mike, that my first 3 months in office, I have stopped
the plunder.
The plunder.
All right, closing comments.
Mike, first let me just correct that notion. I have started by admitting that corruption is a problem in this country. Secondly, you have to identify the challenges and the excuses that people might hide behind.
But why is he not asking Kidero to step down?
Just a minute.
That's my question.
Just a minute. Have you asked him to step down?
I have. I'm asking him to step down now.
This is the question that
I don't know why
saying.
ODM gave him a direct ticket.
Allow him to finish.
Yeah, for me, that's a much shocking thing.
Allow him to finish. Go on.
Mike,
I need you to wind up.
Yes, you need to be alive to the challenges that face the county, including the corruption that we're talking about. And as your senator, first of all, I have said that my role is to put the interests of a city first, get you the money that you require, and then to oversight the utilization of that money to ensure that we actually meet the challenges that face.
Okay, let me wind this up with one question to you, Edwin. And do you believe that Governor Evans Kidero is fit to take office again?
I believe that is a judgment for Nairobians. That is not for me. But do you,
as senator, you have an oversight role?
That's what I'm saying.
You're asking for Nairobians to put you in a position of overseeing on their behalf.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. I am saying my oversight role begins when I get to the Senate. That's what I'm saying. You will get the resources.
Right now, you don't have an opinion regarding that.
This oversee the removal of governors who have abused office.
That is oversight.
It is true. Kidero has been red-carded as a 20. We cannot be discussing about Waigoro, and Kidero has been given a direct ticket by ODM. And my friend Sifuna here was an ODM official at the time that they're the ones who put Kidero in the office.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to wind up. I'm told we're really out of time.
A man who has overseen the plunder of Nairobi.
Okay, I think, Dennis, your closing comments?
My closing comments is that, we have to be disgusted by corruption. We must be disgusted by corruption. And I'm asking the youth in this country, in this county, and in this country, to arise and stop corrupt Kenyans from plundering us. The unique thing about us fighting for independence, and it's a shocking thing that today we are celebrating that, is that we fought an outsider. But the unique position today is that it is our own brothers who are stealing from us. Okay. And that's a unique position.
All right, gentlemen,
but we have to stop this.
We'll have to wind up right there because of time. I think we'll need more time to now get into some of these issues one by one. Yeah. So, Director, I think we'll need to have more time with this. Gentlemen, thank you very much, Dennis Ndhumbi, who is going for a senatorial position in Nairobi under Agano Party, and also Edwin Sifuna, who is a lawyer.